Hi, it's Bishop Mark. Today is Luke chapter 1, 41 to 52. That's a lot of verses based on what I usually do. But it's all one story. So I want to tell you that story. And it's the story, as I told you, when Jesus was 12 years old. So let's get right into it. Beginning at Luke chapter 2, verses 41. Each year his parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to the festival custom. So we Christians have feasts. We have Easter, we have Christmas, we have all sorts of feasts in our church. Very important feast for the Jewish people. And remember, Mary and Joseph and Jesus were Jewish people. Was the feast of Passover. Now, Passover remembers in the Old Testament, the big part of the Bible, in the Old Testament, when God saved his people from the Egyptians. There was a night called Passover, when God saved all the Jewish people. And it's a big feast to this day for the Jewish people. So Mary and Joseph like to spend that feast in Jerusalem. Remember, they're in Nazareth, up by Galilee, and in Galilee, by the Sea of Galilee, and they go down to Jerusalem, and they do it every year. Now, how they usually travel is in groups. So it wouldn't be just Jesus, Mary, and Joseph on the road. They would be in a caravan, it's called. Caravan is a group of traveling people. So it'd be all sorts of other children with Jesus and parents and a big happy festival. And they used to do this every single year, the Feast of Passover. Okay. After they had completed its days, as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Now you think, how could this happen? So the feast is over, and it's time now to get back with the caravan and go up back to where they were from in Nazareth. And Jesus didn't come with them. He stayed in Jerusalem. He's 12 years old. Well, the thing is, it's such a big group of people traveling that it's understandable that they just assumed he was with all the other children in the caravan, but in what really happened is he never left Jerusalem. Have you ever stayed behind and forgotten that people were leaving? Do you remember the movie Home Alone, where I forget his name, the guy goes, oh, like that. He stayed home. He missed the trip. Well, Jesus stayed in Jerusalem. He missed the trip back home. Okay, so are you worried for Jesus in Jerusalem all by himself? Well, let's find out what happens. Thinking that he was in the caravan, they journeyed for a day and looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances. But not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. So finally, Mary and Joseph realized, you ever seen the parents say, I thought he was with you. I thought he was with you. This happens sometimes too. Well, they thought he must be in this big caravan. So they searched the caravan to find Jesus, but he wasn't there. So they finally realized, oh no, we have to go back to Jerusalem. He's still in Jerusalem. Okay. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astounded at his understanding and his answers. So, turns out, Jesus loved the Bible. He loved the scholarly part. He loved the schooling. He was someone who loved God and found God in the Bible. Now imagine you're growing up And you're a child. When he was a baby, he didn't know he was God's son. But he's discovering it. He's discovering he has a real gift of wisdom. He's got a real gift of understanding things. And he wants to use this new thing that he's discovering. And so he finds himself in the temple, the holy place, and there's people talking about the Bible, and he participates. And because he's so understanding and wise about this, they start listening to him, and he's absolutely loving it. He forgets all about having to go home, and he's just happy to be talking about God. That's where they find him, in the temple. Okay. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." Imagine how worried Mary and Joseph were. They were picked by God through the angel to raise God's son, and they lost him. And they found him finally after 3 days. And they said to him, "Why have you done this? Why didn't you come home?" I mean, like normal parents, they were astonished. So that's what they said to him. And he said to them, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Imagine you're Jesus. Well, it's hard to imagine we're Jesus. But imagine Jesus is a 12-year-old boy, and he's realizing where he truly belongs is with God. We said he was fully God and fully human. But it's hard to understand that as a child, as a baby, as a toddler, as you're just trying to live and breathe. But by the time you're 12, he now understands there's something going on here. And he has this connection to God. And he really wants to begin to do God's work. But he's only 12, so he's got to wait. But he says, "Well, didn't you know I should be in the temple?" It's like he's figured out that he was born for this. And the parents, well, they've never seen this part of him. Well, they've probably seen him study the Bible, but he's never been disobedient. And he doesn't call it disobedience. It's logical to him. This is where I belong. This is where I breathe. You know, at some point in your life, I hope you find out where you belong. Like when I was thinking about being a priest, and I went to something called the seminary to discover if I was going to be a priest, I knew very shortly into that this is where I belong. I'm happy as a priest. And now I'm happy as a bishop. But Jesus, he discovered that when he was 12. He said, this is where I belong. Okay. Why were you looking for you? Did you not know I must be in my Father's house? But they did not understand what he said to them. He went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. His mother kept all these things in her heart. Remember I told you that all these stories from Luke come from the heart of Mary, and it says it right there in the Bible. His mother remembered everything about it. Your parents remember about you growing up, and his mother remembered all about him growing up. You know, every time he did something, when he took his first step, when he could learn to read, and all these things parents remember. But this was special. His mother and father remembered when he was lost in the temple. I remember one time when I took a bus all by myself when I was too young to take a bus, because I I was lost and I had to get home. But I knew how to get home, so I just got on a bus and went home. Well, my parents never knew I was out. It's a strange story. It's just that my mother never forgot that story. There are stories where you were in a little danger maybe, or a little predicament. Your parents don't forget these stories. And Mary never forgot this story of Jesus in the temple. So it concludes. And this is the conclusion of chapter 2. So we're going to go on to chapter 3. And Jesus advanced in wisdom and age, in favor before God and man. Now we've heard that before. We heard that after he was a baby. But the thing is, next time we meet Jesus in Luke's gospel, he's going to be a grown-up man. So we have this one story of his childhood. Isn't it nice? Yeah. He was discovering who he was. And his parents began to let him be who he is. All right, we'll see you. And we'll begin chapter 3 next time. Bye now.